And so I have a special t-shirt today, some puppies for the puppies in the house that eat down the stigma. Yay. And so we'll start with a short round of introduction. Well, most of you already know me. For those who do not, I'm Adalberto, and I've been running the or hosting the Kinky Talks together with Hans, which in my screen is on my left. Hans, do you want to say maybe 2 words for those who joined?
Welcome. I find it very interesting to talk about this, and I think it's important that the words get spread. And the thing we do post the recording on YouTube, so if that's anywhere problem, or just let me know, and we'll edit the video later on. So, but I'm really interested in getting this information up there.
Great. Yes, now the Kinky Talks are once a month, the first Wednesday, and quite a chance that this month it really fits with the 1st of December, so the theme is quite clear. Then I would like to go through a short round of the introduction according to the order on my screen. And then let's see, first one, Bentley, if you would like just to tell a few words who you are, where you're from.
Hi, I'm Bentley. I was the very first MrPuppy Netherlands, which is where some of you will know me from. I reside in the UK now, Manchester to be exact. Today I celebrate my 13th birthday. It was exactly 13 years ago today that I got my first positive test result. It's a great day for that. Apart from that, Adalberto invited me, and spreading this message is one of the most important messages there is for us to spread. Spread love, not the virus, I've always been told. So yeah, December 1st is a little bit of a big day for me, but I make it through every year, and so do many, many more.
Yeah, thanks a lot for actually on this special day to be here with us. Really appreciate it even more, so thanks. And yeah, next, Stephan, we also had you as a guest a year ago, around December, together with Snorella. So nice to have you back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it wasn't exactly on the 1st of December, but for me it's 27 years ago. So I guess I'm the oldest in this audience. And I'm 16 years over time, actually, because my GP didn't expect me to become older than 30, and I'm 46 now. And I think the biggest struggle in these days is not HIV anymore, especially not in Western Europe, but the stigma and self-stigma on HIV.
Thank you, Stephan.
Yeah.
And on my screen might be a coincidence, but after Stephan was our Mr. Leather, the next one on the screen is Theo.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm Theo. I'm the current Mr. Leather Netherlands here, and I've been having HIV for a little bit more than 3 years, so I'm a newbie. And well, today I had my coming out really online, so it is also a special day for me.
Yay.
Thank you, Theo, and nice that you are with us. And then we have 2 for the price of 1, Ivo and Stanley.
Hallo. Jij maar eerst. Kijk maar eerst. Nee, jij mag eerst. Okay. I'm Stanley. I've been HIV positive now for 12 years. And in the beginning, I think being open about HIV was a struggle for me. And since a few years, inspired by other friends who became open about their status, I'm here to break the stigma on HIV in my daily life, and hope to contribute to that with this Kinky Talk.
Thank you. And next to you, we have Ivo.
That's yeah, Ivo. I'm on PrEP, so I'm thankfully or luckily, I don't know, still negative. And
for how many years?
39 years. So yeah, no, I'm here to share a story how I thankfully through somebody from the community got a really good lesson in how to prevent yourself from doing stupid stuff, which I was doing at the moment, and that's it's been a really nice thing that I would love to share tonight with everybody.
Well, maybe since we made a whole round, maybe why not starting then from that and then going back? So we basically we asked everybody to share what would be, let's say, your message or story or something that you find important about the theme of today. So yeah, why not just continue from there, Ivo?
Okay, yeah, no. So for me, I had a lot of boyfriends who were positive, and so I'm absolutely open about the whole thing. I don't stigmatize. I don't do that kind of stuff. But my story that I wanted to share tonight is been quite one where I sort of like realized how important the knowledge of a community can be, because I was in Berlin and was very into fisting at the time, and with then sort of like not knowing what Tina meant, tried it in an evening, been like going through quite some boundaries of myself, did some stuff that I probably shouldn't have, and that was on a Thursday, was during Folsom. And on the Sunday, all of a sudden we had the call, the go down. How do you say that in English? And I got really loud and started screaming. And all of a sudden, in front of the Prinsknecht, where there was the lovely Frank, who lifted me up underneath my arms, and he said, like, what's going on with you? I have never seen you like this. And like, where are you? What are you doing? Like, what's going on? I need to know. So I explained a little bit that I was at a party and that I used Tina, and he said, like, do you know what it is? So like, no. So like, oh yeah, that's crystal meth. So then I was like, whoa, okay, like that is something. I snorted, so there was no needles in place. So that's also like why I thought it maybe was a little bit more innocent. And he followed me already a little bit for a while, and he knew what I was doing. And he said, like, I really would like to know how you're going home tomorrow, because we were in Berlin. And he said, like, I'm going to drive by car, and I think I want you next to me in the driver's seat. You're going to not catch your flight. I'm going to pick you up from your hotel because I really would like to talk with you about some things. So that he really helped me see how things around HIV are getting way more positive and way more better to live with. So he explained me actually already before U is U, or undetectable is untransmittable. So he really explained me about how that works and how I could sort of like help myself from attracting the virus. And thank God I didn't take the plane and I was sitting next to him, because for me that was really a turning point in my life, where because I think for so many guys who really like to experiment with sex, there's certain safety things that you can do, but at one point it's becoming sort of like it's taking away from the fun, or like you're losing out on some other guys. So he explained me how untransmittable is what is it?
USU.
How USU worked. And since then, for me, actually, the whole stigma left in my system, because like before I was like a little bit scared of the fact. And that's, I think, also why you sometimes go a little bit in more extreme things, because you cannot feel free when you have sex. And that's sometimes you just have to go. And that's what happened with me in Berlin that weekend. And thank God, since then, for me, the stigma was gone. And what I said after that, I had quite some boyfriends who were positive, and we had we had, as you now call it, just safe sex. because it was amazing. So for me, that was really a turning point about how actually it's not a problem anymore, and that's great.
Thanks a lot, Ivo, for sharing this story. It's really, really amazing what within the community we can mean for, or not what we can mean for each other. It's yeah, quite speechless. Thanks.
Yeah, people really taking their place and giving info in a way like that is really great.
Yeah, but I think also the way he took care of you as a community member, seeing you struggling. He didn't even know what was bothering you, but he saw you struggling, and he took his responsibility to take care of you and to take you along on his journey. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. No, forever thankful. Like, probably for him it was a small gesture, and he was like, also, I'm not traveling home alone, so that's nice. And for me, it was really a turning point in understanding how everything works, and indeed get rid of the fear. Like, knowledge is the best thing that you can give to somebody else about this subject.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Then to continue then on our round through the guests before we open up. Then of course the next one is the one sitting next to you, Stanley.
Me. Yeah, I was thinking about what I wanted to share, and I actually wanted to share quite a recent story, a little less than a year. I was always very open to my friends and also to my closest family about my HIV status. But work-wise, I never talked about it. Nobody at work knew it. I work in finance for an Italian company, which is quite conservative, which is quite a conservative world. So I was very much afraid to share it with my work environment, with my colleagues. And a few years ago, a friend of mine who works in theater, he came out as HIV positive, and he did that through a song, telling his story to the world. And that really inspired me, and that also triggered something in me, like, why am I not open about it? What's my fear? And he got a lot of positive feedback, and that really triggered something in me. So last year, the magazine Hello Gorgeous, which is a magazine in the Netherlands around HIV, living with HIV, asked him for an interview. There was a friendship edition, and they asked him for an interview, a double interview with a friend. So he asked me if I would like to participate in this interview with him, talking about our friendship, but our friendship also evolves around both being HIV positive. So when he asked me that, I immediately said yes, not even thinking about the consequences of doing your story about your friendship and about your HIV in a magazine. So after I said yes, all of a sudden I realized, okay, but this will have some implications. People will see the magazine, people will know about about my situation, family, colleagues, it's out there. And at first I was afraid, but then I thought, okay, it can also be an opportunity. So I saw it as an opportunity, and I did the interview. And a week before publication of the interview, I've made an email to all my colleagues informing them about the fact that I'm first HIV positive, but also that there will be an interview in a magazine, and I wanted them to know at first. And I was very much afraid of the reactions that I would get from my colleagues. And it was actually one of the most heartwarming and positive things that I've ever had within my work environment. Everybody was so super supportive. I only got positive reactions. People were asking questions. People wanted to know things about the virus, about what it means to live as a person who's HIV positive. A lot of people started to recognize some things. I was always going to my specialist every 6 months, and they knew that I was going to a specialist, but I was never open about what I would do there. So for me, that was really a positive experience, and it also brought a little bit of reflection to how I still looked at my situation, because I was also having a stigma inside myself. I was so afraid of I was really convinced that there would be a negative reaction, or there would even be negative consequences for me, and it turned out to be one big positive experience. So that really empowered me to be even more open about HIV, and not only about HIV, but also about stigmas on STIs in general. There's still a big stigma also, for instance, on hepatitis C. So that's also one of the drivers why I work for nomorec, because I want to break the stigmas on HIV, but also the stigmas on STIs in general. And I think if we can break those stigmas also within our community, it will make the world a much easier place to be open, and also to share and to make sure that you can limit the risk of infections. So that was the story that I wanted to share about a little piece of internal stigma that I still was carrying with me after, and then I was HIV positive for 11 years. So I was still carrying that little internal stigma for 11 years, and letting that stigma go inside myself was really liberating.
Thanks a lot, Stanley. Yeah, I really find it difficult to kind of start talking after the stories you share, because yeah, it's really.
Well, you are the moderator. It's a bit. It's your job.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Wave your hair.
Yeah.
And you're doing fine.
But one thing that I notice how actually are using a lot the word positive, but also in really in really a lot of positive meaning. So that's something really cool. Theo,
and also the courage to come out in a financial world, which is sometimes a bit picky in things.
Yeah, absolutely picky and traditional and conservative. So that was really, but that's also, I was very convinced about that, and I was very much positively surprised by how open, how open actually my colleagues in that conservative world actually turned out to be. So I also had a little bit of prejudice towards the industry that I'm working in. So it was on many sides. It was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, our own prejudice and our own stigmas are closely linked together. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Good. Then Theo, would you like to go next?
Yes, hi. Well, my story is about, well, 3.5 years ago, I only thought then of protecting myself to get PrEP. So I did the whole thing. It was by, with the GGD, yes, and I got the PrEP, and well, everything was fine. And about I took it. How do you say it? Only around sex. So I took PrEP and did things, and then after a few months, I got a phone call from the doctor from the GGD, and he said, we have some bad news. And at that moment, I thought, oh well, my kidneys are not doing the PrEP great, because that's a side effect of PrEP. So I thought, well, okay, damn, I can't have PrEP. But then he said, we still have found HIV in your blood. So my whole world was going berserk, because I thought, well, I protect myself because I took PrEP, and then I thought, how the hell could that be? Because, well, I thought when you take PrEP, you can't have HIV. So I was thinking, and the only thing I can think of is that I forgot one time to that I had sex, and that was a little bit too close after well, it was when I got tested, there was a little bit too close of time, I think. That's the only reason I can think of that I have the HIV. But my question also for the other ones is, how did you hear it that you had HIV? Because I was sitting at home all alone and I just got a phone call on, yeah, we found HIV in your blood. I was all alone. I couldn't connect with my boyfriend. I didn't dare to tell anybody. So I was feeling very alone, and I don't know what the normal way is that they tell you. So that is really my question for everybody. And the funny thing is that I thought, well, I don't know anybody with HIV, well, a few friends in the distance, but after I got to talk a little bit with some friends, I got to know that almost everybody of my friends were having HIV. So that was a really eye-opening for me. But I didn't know that. So it was really great that I could talk about it very much with my friends. But still the question remains, how did you hear about it?
Well, I think my experience was well, I think, well, not exactly the same, but in a different way, but also very strange. I was at GGD and I was at the STI clinic, and I was the last patient of the day. It was the day before Queen's Day. And well, I went testing every 3 months, so it was like a regular thing. So you have like the speed test, and so I went back into the room, and the nurse was there. She was like, "Okay, sit. Do you want to sit down?" So I was like, "Okay, well, why should I sit down?" "Okay, sit down." And she said, "Well, I've got some bad news. I'm sorry, but you're HIV positive." Which was, of course, a shock. But then, because I was the last patient in the STI clinic, it was like, okay, well, here you have a sip of water, and then you need to go. And it was Queen's Day, which is the last day of April, and the GGD would close because the 1st of May. We had Queen's Day, then the 1st of May was Labor Day. So it took. I could come back in 10 days at the GGD to get my definite results. So they literally kicked me out on the street, like, okay, we're closed. So there I was sitting in my car, like, what the fuck just happened? And luckily I had my ex-boyfriend, which I was still in good contact with. So he was the only one I could think of to call. So I called him, and he came to the GGD. So he found me in my car. I was crying, and it was really, really sad. And so you can imagine the Queen's Night and the Queen's Day that I had afterwards. They were not good. And luckily, a friend of mine who is also HIV positive that I knew of, I called him and I told him my story. And he said, the 1st of May, let me call to OVG, where I'm a patient, and let me see if I can arrange something, because we can't have you waiting for 10 days to be sure if you're HIV positive or not. Because the speed test said positive, but to have a sure picture, you have to have the reconfirmation test. And luckily, his HIV consultant said to him, okay, I'm going to clear my schedule, send him to the hospital, and we will do the test right away. Then we know within 2 hours, we know what happened. And we did. She already put me in for long photos and everything. So that was really a lifesaver. And I also went back to GGD afterwards, because I did have an appointment in 10 days. So I went to that appointment, and I told them my experience on how it was, how I experienced the whole bad news message that I had. And the nurse that also gave me the bad news was there, and she was really in shock. So she asked the doctor on call to come along with the conversation. And it turned out that it was her first day in the clinic. And she had no idea how these conversations should go. So she was also struggling. So that's why it really touched her as well. So that's why she wanted the doctor to be present as well, to hear about what the consequences were, and also that it was like a 10-day period afterwards. She didn't even thought about the impact of having to wait 10 days. So the day that I got my news was really terrible, and I was also afterwards I was pissed off, but having a conversation with the nurse and with the doctor afterwards took away the negative feeling that I had with it. But the experience of getting the bad news for me was really bad and almost traumatizing, I would say.
Yeah, I can imagine. And in my case, the doctor called me an hour later or something, and he said, well, I got to think, and I think it would have been a terrible news for you. So are you okay? Then I already had an hour of, well, thinking everything, and didn't know really everything about HIV. And because I had taken PrEP, he already said, well, we have to do some, we'll have to look into it because you already had some medicine, your virus is different than all the other viruses. So it was a shock with that. So, but thank you for your story.
Thank you also for sharing it, Theo.
Well, shall I continue? First, answer Theo's question. I got my diagnosis in 1994, and there were no speed tests available. I had an idea that it would be positive, but I still had to wait about 1.5 weeks before I had the confirmation of my GP. So it was quite nerve-wracking. And then he also, no, I phoned him actually. And he just, even if it's, it was in Germany, and officially it had to be in his office that he told me about my status, but he just did on the phone when I called him. So yeah, I can imagine how nerve-wracking it was for Stanley to have to wait 10 days, but yeah, there was no other way for me back in that time than to be quite some time unsure about my results. Yeah, and about what I wanted to share, maybe I just put it on top.
Stephan, may I get back to how, because you did it on the phone, how, because those were different times?
Yeah.
How, because then you had the uncertainty for 10 days.
Yeah.
How, was there any aftercare? Did you get information? What was the process at that time?
Well, we made an appointment at the phone, and he sent me to the St. George Hospital in Hamburg as my HIV clinic that was closest by, so I could get quite a quick appointment. Oh yeah, he told me, oh, I don't think you turned 30. That was the information he gave to me.
Oh, wow.
And then he sent me to St. George in Hamburg, and it was in a barrack at the far outmost corner of the hospital, where they saw the HIV patient. And I had to get there every month. So I had blood tests every month, and I saw every month the same people, and then suddenly they didn't show up anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And they tried lots of therapies back then to improve your lung capacity and stuff like that. Not for me, but for other people. Yeah. it was quite weird.
I can imagine. Thank you.
Yeah. And
More than weird.
Yeah. But I've been living so long with HIV, so it's part of me now, and that's why I don't feel the urge of a coming out. Actually, I just talk about it. I did it. I do it at work, so I totally understand, Stanley. That's a thing that you have an HIV coming out, but I just drop it, and I just try to mention it in my usual talks and just tell about, not especially about me, but about HIV, the treatments, the research, and all that stuff, just to educate my people and also my managers about it. And on a certain moment, they think, oh, well, he knows so much about it. Maybe it's positive too, but I'm also not telling I'm gay. I'm just telling, hey, I've got a husband. So it's quite a normal thing. I mean, I don't expect from my people to tell me, oh, I've got diabetes or I've got whatever. It's great if they do, but you don't have to come out to me. It's if you want to tell about it, that's totally fine. But being gay and having HIV is, I think, one of the only things you have to come out, and that's quite. I don't see why I should do it. Actually, I'm just, it's me, so it's part of me, and yeah, take it or leave it. So that's what I do. And last Saturday I joined the Power of Love in Utrecht, and I think we are talking about educating the community, but I think it's much more important to educate people outside the community about HIV. So as my colleagues, my managers. But last weekend at the Power of Love, I talked to a girl that did the jackets actually in the Beatrix Theater, and I collected my jacket, and it was quiet, so we had some time to talk actually. And she said, "Oh, well, it's a great initiative," and I had never heard of it, so I told her about what it is. It's the best day to be HIV positive, actually, the Power of Love. Usually there are about 500 people in Royal Theatre Carré in Amsterdam joining, talking about HIV, getting medical updates, seeing people that sometimes are cured of HIV, like Timothy Brown a couple of years ago, or Adam, the English patient this year, Mark, the Düsseldorf patient this year. And I also told her how she can protect herself. She had no idea that PrEP is also available for women, actually. So I said, yeah, well, you can take the pill and you can add another one, PrEP. So you're protected for the two worst things, actually, getting pregnant if you don't want to, and getting HIV. So that's, I think there's much more to do outside our community. I totally agree. There are lots of gays who have no idea and they need to know about it, but there are far more people outside our community who have no idea.
That's why I love that you weave in tips as you just did, because this will be on YouTube, and I hope people outside and the community watch it as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, thanks a lot, Stephan.
You're welcome.
You know, you've been very, very active in breaking down stigma, like all these little puppies.
Yeah.
Now, of course, talking of puppies, we are the youngest of our guests of tonight, calling in from North Manchester.
Am I the youngest? Really? Damn it.
Well, it's not me.
So first to get to Tio's, who's on that side for me, but don't know where he is for you. But so I got my test result after a speed test on a World AIDS Day drive in Haarlem, where I lived at the time. And when it came back positive, I got a lovely little leaflet, which basically said, "You have HIV." Well, that sucks. And I was like, what do I do? I got an appointment for the full-on test, which was, and I shit you not, in January. So that was well over a month. I didn't know what the fuck to do. I knew very little about HIV. I was 22, 23 years old. I luckily had a friend that was HIV positive who got me in touch with the consultant at the hospital in Haarlem, Marijke. I will always love that woman. She took me in after hours, made one of the lab techs, run the tests. She was there for me when I needed her the most. She, the best example of what kind of woman she was, when she retired a few years after, the hospital tried to throw her a little goodbye party. Her patients found out. All her patients showed up. Yeah, that was slightly more than the hospital budgeted for, I think. Yeah, but we don't need the clinic nurse. We need the consultancy nurse, because they have the knowledge. They can actually help you. In the UK, it's slightly differently arranged with how things work than in, that was a steep learning curve after I moved. So I see my doctor if I switch meds. Otherwise, I just see my consultancy nurse. Because as long as you're healthy, you don't need to see your doctor. So I'm actually seeing my doctor in 2 weeks because I've just switched meds. I don't even know who the man is, but we'll see. The message I wanted to share today is very much in line with Stephan. We've educated ourselves enough. We need to keep educating our younglings, so the young ones in our community, but we need to focus on outside our community. The amount I've had it when I told my previous HR manager that I was HIV positive. She asked me how long I still had to live. And so I've had to teach that woman everything about HIV. I don't mind teaching, but I do mind it if I am constantly teaching. And I think most in this group will agree with me on that. We are not the teachers. The health services should be doing that. But sexual health among straights is something that just doesn't exist, it seems. Every time I ask a straight person when they last got tested, they've either never gotten tested or they got tested 2 years ago, but had sexual partners since. They could be bloody super spreaders. We gays do really well on our sexual health, but it's time to expand beyond that. The UK government has just announced that they're spending another, this is a magic number, 23 million to stop all new HIV infections by 2030, if I remember correctly. Now, their goal was 2020, but as a lot of things with the UK government, it gets delayed a little bit. However, they are working on it. PrEP is freely available if you can get an appointment at the clinic. That's the big if. Clinics here are understaffed and busy. Basically, the entire NHS is that way. They are, when you do get an appointment, they are really, really good. They are knowledgeable. They know what they're doing. If you have any questions, they can answer them, or they will ask a consultant, or they will ask a doctor. They will get you the answer. But again, funding. If there's no money, you can't hire staff. Nurses work long days in this country. I usually have appointments around 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and that's quite normal. Now, if I take a bit longer, that means that it stacks up. But usually they do plan in enough time. That's one thing I'll give them. Absolutely. Like in the Netherlands, I usually had it. You see your doctor has 10 minutes for you. And then you get shipped off to the nurse. My standard appointment with my nurse here is 30 minutes. I don't even know what I need to do in those 30 minutes. Like usually after about 15 minutes, I'm like, can I go? Because, you know, if we can find a median on that and then educate the straights and trademark and teach them about sexual health. And you know what? Everyone can get an STI. I gave my colleague the example at some point who had had 3 sexual partners in her life, never had been tested, that she could basically pass HIV and what else on to her kids. And she was terrified. I'm like, why are you terrified? Because they might die. No, they're not going to die. They can get meds for that. They're on them for the rest of their lives, but and it's things like that that it's just, it blows my mind. Like from when I was a little twink, a long, long time ago, not as long as some of you, apparently. All my gay friends have always taught me, get tested every 3 months. Even if you've not had sex, just get tested, get that routine in, keep that routine going. And I've done that. Even throughout the pandemic, at some point I was like, I've not had sex in 3 months and I'm still doing this fucking test. But I kept the routine in. So now that, you know, life is picking up a bit again, especially in the UK. I'm sorry about that for the guys in the Netherlands, but, you know, sorry about that. My routine is still there. I still get tested every 3 months. When I saw my nurse, she's like, do you need to do an STI test? I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. It's a standard cycle, and we need to educate people that your sexual health is important. Probably more important than your mental health, because they affect each other so much. Because if your mental health is shit, your sex life is shit. If your sex life is shit, your mental health goes. It's, at least for me, it works together. And we need to, if this is going to sound really, really ethereal, but we need to see, if you look at a human as a holistic person, so as a whole person, sexual health, mental health, physical health, those 3 are so strongly interweaved that if one is off, the others go off as well. If your mental health is gone, you catch a cold quicker, but your sex drive also goes. If you're in pain, the other 2 are affected as well. So we need to step back a little bit and educate people, not just ourselves, but also others.
Thank you, Bentley. Definitely, I see many people clapping. I think we are all indeed can agree on that.
Yeah, and get the routine in is really an important thing, I think. Yeah.
And I'm sorry about the age joke that just came out.
Let's see, I'm looking at Hans. Shall we stop recording and
I was wondering whether we could still make one short round in what's the things you want people to know. Just about education. This is a way to educate. What do you want to know? If we could make one small round, what's the things you want to know that people should know?
What I want people to know is that the USU message is still not out there. So if you're undetectable, you're untransmittable, and get tested. I mean, know your sexual health status. That's the most important thing in the world. If you're sexual active,
100% agreed on that.
Straight or lesbian or whatever, just
get fucking tested.
Yes, get to know your status.
Yeah, I do think that sex positivity used to be about getting people to talk about their fetishes, but I get to know your status and get to talk about your status are important things also in sex positivity, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Stephan.
And of course, also, just like said before, the straight people have to be educated well, because then you can put a little bit the stigma off, because then they know about what HIV means, and that that it's not transmissible anymore, and that you are healthy. You are more healthy than they, because they don't know what their status is. So
I think maybe Bentley can confirm, but they did a study in the UK that people with HIV are probably living longer because they are seeing their GP more regularly. Actually,
so the current life expectancy of a person living with HIV in the UK, for a male person, that is, because I think the study focused specifically on males, is 85.5 years old. For a person living without HIV, it is 84 years. 1.5 years difference that I'll live longer than all of you fuckers. I mean, I do think, you know, the not having kids makes us gays live longer as well, but that's not been studied yet.
That kind of helps, yes, yeah.
Not having to run after those little things.
I do think that I don't know how it's arranged in the UK, but in the Netherlands, there is a special treatment for men having sex with men, because we can get tested for free and just get in when our test results are positive.
Well,
I thought for straight people, it's way more difficult to get in the municipal health service to get an appointment. That's really difficult. So I was wondering how it is in other countries, for instance, in the UK or in Austria. I don't.
So in the UK, the National Health Service runs sexual health clinics. There's private ones as well, but I don't bother with them because they cost money and the NHS is for free. They don't discriminate based on sexuality, gender, or whatever. There's females get a different clinic than men because, you know, different nurses, different doctors, because apparently the female body works different. But everyone can get an appointment no matter which way you swing or who you have sex with. So it's a bit easier accessible on the broad spectrum, does make it harder to get appointments.
Well, in the Netherlands, it's based on risk. They consider men having sex with men a high risk. So hence the you get an easy appointment. So how is, for instance, I see people from Hamburg or from Austria. I was wondering how it is in your countries. Is this difference applied in your country as well?
Yeah,
I think we should close the recording then, if we get questions to other people as well. Is there anyone from our guests who really wants to have a final word? Otherwise, we'll close the recording.
What I would like to say still is because of that amazing experience I had with somebody being so open about sharing something that he knew, like for me, that's been almost sort of like the gateway to indeed now being very involved with No More C, trying to share stories that are difficult, trying to find ways to make it a little bit more better, and indeed see how much a community still for themselves can contribute in sharing knowledge. And I think that's for me one of the things that I would like to contribute, that like there's certain ways you can do, and I think for everybody there's a different way of doing it. Like it can be your close friend, but like even like that one story that you bring out, it helps. And that's I guess a very hopeful thing to keep in mind.
And if I can add to that, the one thing I hear from everybody when they found out that they got HIV is that they had a friend. And I think that we have to be that friend also, because we know what it is. And I think that's most important. Your doctor is telling you you've got it, and your friend is going to help you cope with it. I think that's a great message.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, guys. Really, thanks. Gonna close recording now.